subscribers, thank you for subscribing, and also to fam, thank you so much for tuning in.
Today's topic is on mental health and what affects our mental health. So today we have a wonderful guest by the name of Thobeka Mthembu, who is a clinical psychologist. I am just going to let her introduce herself before we go any further. Hi Thobeka, thank you so much for honoring us with your presence today.
Hi Nonto, thank you for the invite, and as you've said, Thobeka Mthembu. I'm a clinical psychologist and it's lovely to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so before we go any further, tell us, what is mental health?
Okay, so in mental health talks about emotional well-being, talks about our feelings, and also social well-being, right? And then the World Health Organization, it defines mental health as a state of well-being which enables people to be able to cope with demands of daily stress, and also just be able to realize potentials and abilities, as well as being able to learn, being productive and fruitfully, and also just contributing in society in general, and building healthy relationships, right? So generally that's what is mental health, and it's more than just the absence of mental health disorders, as you just might have heard from the description I have given.
Okay, so what causes mental health problems?
I mean, it's a number of things, right? So, and it can be a combination of things as well, which can give rise to mental health disorders. One thing, it's biological factors. So lapho sikhuluma ngama genetics, right? So then mental health conditions are hereditary.
Is it?
Yeah. So hereditary in a sense that if kukhona osekhaya o onasisigulo sengqondo uba sengcupheni ukuthi usithole, yabona. So biological factors, also nje indlela ingqondo esebenza ngayo, so chemicals in the brain can give rise to mental health disorders, and also okunye futhi okukhoza mental disorders will be environmental factors, and that can be izinto ezifana njengo maybe financial problems or any other social problems, and also medical conditions also, some of them can give rise to mental health disorders. For example nje, if omunye umuntu enenkinga ngethyroid yakhe, ngenzeka uthola ukuthi usenesigolo lesi sengqondo ekuthiwa depression kwesinye isikhathi, or mood symptoms, right? So basically izinto nje ezifana nalezo dala izigulo zengqondo, which are mental health disorders or mental illnesses.
So basically it's the pressures of daily life that can cause a person, to have mental illness. I mean, mental disorders.
I mean, one of the things which can give rise, could be that. I mean, if, like, for example,
as you have said, it's genetical, so it can happen. Let's call sekhaya vele or wake wabana. So I didn't know that. It's like diabetics and all other things. So you can also inherit lezo zinto kanjalo. Okay, so what are common mental illness? What's a common mental illness and how can one deal with them?
So izigulo zengqondo ezi-common, khona izigulo zengqondo ezifana nama-mood disorders. So izigulo zengqondo ezithinta kakhulu your mood. So that can be like i-depression, i-MDD. It can be izinto ezifana njengo-bipolar. So ezinye izigulo zengqondo lezo. And also futhi ezinye izigulo zengqondo ziwelela under anxiety, which has to do more on just worry kakhulu, significant worry and anticipation about negative things which might happen in the future. So anxiety sifaka khona generalized anxiety disorder, sifaka khona panic attacks, phobias.
It's all kind of anxiety.
Yes, some different types of anxieties. So nalokho futhi isigolo sengqondo. Mase kuba khona izigulo zengqondo futhi which fall under the the psychotic symptoms spectrum,
Yeah.
schizophrenia,
Kind of extreme.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe it's in the extreme part of mental illnesses. So izinto ezifana nalezo yeah, and also substances, hey, which is
Substances,
something
yes.
into esingaze siyibone njengesigolo sengqondo, but also substance use disorders can form part of mental illnesses.
How?
Generally you can get a diagnosis of a substance use disorder ngokuthi kusho ukuthi ukusebenzisa kwakhe izidakamizwa sekweqile kunalokhu okujwayelekile and futhi sekukhoza significant problems in your day-to-day functioning.
Then how can one deal with them? Let's say now you have found out that you have bipolar, or you have depression, or you have someone who has been diagnosed with one of these things. How can how can you support that person, or how can one deal with that situation? Now I have bipolar. Now I have depression. How do I deal with that situation?
Okay, so kokuqala, probably before you even deal with these things, fanele ukuthole a proper diagnosis, right? And generally akukho right ukuthi uzidiagnose wena ngokuthi enene mhlambe sometimes sike siye ko Google ukuthi shuthi nginalokho nalokho, but ama mental illnesses can be like a bit complex, nokuthi ezinye igulo ziya overlap. For example, some of the symptoms do overlap, so then you do really need someone who's trained or a mental health professional practitioner ozokwazi ukuthi ak-assess kahle abone ukuthi wena lezi impawu that you're presenting with ziwelela kuphi, right? So first things first, nje fanele ukuthole a proper diagnosis from a qualified practitioner,
of course,
either your doctor or dealing with mental illnesses, or a psychiatrist yakho, or you can even go to your psychologist for assessment, or anyone who really works in the mental health sector. So firstly, diagnosis, right? And then another way to deal with this, because once you get a diagnosis, then you know what you have, and if also then uba in a better chance of knowing how to handle it. You can't cope or handle something ongayazi ukuthi yini, yabona. So the diagnosis okokuqala. Okwesibili, if you need the medication, like bazokutshela ukuthi okay, ngoba unalesi sigulu bipolar, we're going to give you this medication. Okay, ngoba anxiety, we're going to give you this medication. Okay, ngoba depression, we're going to give you this medication, right? So kubalekile wena, as a way to deal with the condition that you have, is to comply with the medication yakho as indicated by udokotela wakho. So uphuza the medication yakho. If ukuthi khona inkinga onazo with the medication, and like in ama side effects, because like all meds have side effects,
some are very strong.
So if medication akunikeze yona udokotela ikunikeza ama side effects, kubalekile ukuthi ungayiyeki nje wena ngoba ikunikeza ama side effects. It's better ukuthi uye kudokotela and discuss those side effects. Then uzobona yena ukuthi what else can you do? Do I need to change the medication maybe, or do I need to give you something else? So that's another way of dealing with mental health problems, taking and complying with the medication yakho. Okunye futhi, it's also great to go to someone, a psychologist, a counselor, or whoever for therapeutic support, right? Because njengoba sengishilo ekuqaleni izigulo zengqondo zidalwa izinto eziningi, and a combination of things. For example, some genetics, or it can be environmental factors like psychosocial factors. So in medication it deals with the biological part, So then the other parts, then you need to
with your mind.
Yes.
Your emotions,
exactly,
and all that.
Exactly. Also, okay, maybe this is how you can cope, isn't this ganjalo? So speaking to someone as well, ukwazi ukudila nama mental health problems akho, and also kukhona nama support groups kwezinye ikhathi, yabo. For example nje, for people abane substance use disorder, esinayo futhi iyawelela kuma mental illnesses, zikhona izinto ezifana njengo AA, where there's might be support groups. So if there's a support group, it's also great to join a support group, yabo. South African Anxiety and Depression Group runs support groups as well. If ever you can get the access to support group, nakhona futhi as a way to deal with your mental health problem or condition, attend those support groups, yabona. So those are some of the ways esikwazi ukudila nako, and also acceptance. I think of certain things, yabona, accept. Accept nje ezinye izinto, and then also I guess because usho nendaba ukuthi wena ke, like if family members, how can you support someone,
how can they support
ukuthi si deal ne stigma ne discrimination against people abanama mental illnesses, right?
Depression and
exactly
all that.
Stigma, so ukuthi lona uyagula bona akasasili izinto, that stigma,
especially our African
I mean, I think it's across the board.
We even make jokes about that on TikTok. So we see jokes when people say, "Angithi wena uthe une depression abazali," acting like parents, you know. So that's why I'm saying, like, especially our African side, because they make jokes about that, you know. Angithi wena usathunya uthe une depression, like you know, so things like that. So that's why I was asking, how can, you know, as families support those people, because you know what is easier for you to do or to handle, it might not easier from someone else, you know. So like ukuthi sifunde ukuthi singayibukeli phansi ama emotions omunye umuntu, you know, because as fun, you know, as fun, and even if you are raising a child, you know, don't raise you in that child, but raise that child ngendlela yona yena, because she's different from you, so izinto kanjalo that akekho strong njengawe, you know, so no strong but ngendlela yakhe, you know. So things like that. Then how can a person, obviously you mentioned that you have to attend a clinical psychologist to see if what's wrong with you, but how can, you know, like your first like your first step to identify that you maybe I have mental issues, you know, how can one identify that, you know, what are the symptoms and of these disorders or illnesses, and how can you identify if something is wrong with your partner or your child, you know, maybe there's something wrong with this child, you know, but how can you see those things, what are the symptoms?
Uqinisile nonto, because obviously before umuntu azafike kudokotela or psychiatrist fanele kube ukuthi ubonile inkinga lana, you know, before you take them there. So iziphi le inkinga ke noma le mpawu ekumele siyibone ngaphambi kokuthi size sise umuntu kudokotela, right? So ama symptoms esingawabona vary, so ayahluka depending on what the person's condition is, but generally if there are any changes significant, and ngithi significance because fanele kube into le esiyeqile kunento elindelekile, angeke sithi umuntu just because today they're feeling a bit sad kusho lo muntu usene depression. Fanele kube into atypical, so this is abnormal, ayijwayelekile, isiyeqile, right? So ama significant changes in your feelings, you know, ama significant changes in your thoughts, your thinking patterns, and ama thinking patterns siwazwa ngendlela okhuluma ngayo, la njengoba ngikhuluma manje shuthi uyabona ukuthi ngicabangani, because we can't see the brain, right? And also significant changes in your behavior, right? So that will give an indication ukuthi ay sekukhona into wrong la yabo. For example, let's say a significant change in behavior, right? So how unonto wangalala for izolo nje ebusuku akalala ngobusuku bonke, yabo, she didn't sleep, ubusy la ubusy nje uyacleana, yabo, ebusuku nanani, yabo, into abnormal leyo, because usually we sleep at night. For example, we would have known you as someone who sleeps at night, but suddenly
exactly.
So that's a bit concerning, right? And also if people have known you as someone who's bubbly, who's outgoing, and suddenly when usum yazivalela endlini esikhathi eside, yabo, most of the time awufuna ukuphuma nanani, so that's a significant change in your behavior. We know you as outgoing, right, but suddenly uyazivalela, yabo, into kanjalo. So that's a concern then ukuthi how suddenly your behavior has changed, you know, and also your thoughts. Abanye uthola ukuthi uma ekhuluma they will say, oh, akhuluma into engahlangani kahle, yabo into kanjalo, or else mhlambe nje abe nokukhohlwa okweqile, like in terms of thoughts ukuthi nje akasakhumbula lokhu okweqile, and that's concerning, yabona. So seniyabona ukuthi okay,
can it be anger and someone be aggressive,
exactly,
like in teenagers most of the time?
Yeah, because it's also significant changes in emotions, right? So for example, if someone is super angry ngaso sonke isikhathi unama anger outbursts, yabona anger outbursts, then usungabona ukuthi okay, maybe there might be like a problem here, mhlawumbe usecindezeleke kakhulu. For example, depression, one of the symptoms of depression is anger and irritability, yabona. So yabona ukuthi umuntu onayo kungenzeka ukuthi nimbone ngokuthi use angry ngaso sonke isikhathi, yabona. It's not only that though, it's also other symptoms with that. But I'm just trying to say that umuntu simbona ngokuthi there's changes in feelings, their emotions, there's significant changes in thoughts, there's significant changes in behavior, right? But also then, not only that, because the mental illness affects that, but also it significantly impacts on your work, also on your social life, your relationships, and also your school. So siyabona ukuthi usehlala ediniwe manje la, segcina sek-affecta ubudlelwane bakho with their wife or husband, you know, their kids, siyabona ukuthi oh lo uyakhohlwa, yabo sesikubonile lokho in terms of their thoughts, but now sekunjani emsebenzini akasaperform kahle, yabo into kanjalo, or esikoleni ze uyehle, yabona ukuthi mental illness iphinde affect lezi ingxenye kade siyishilo, but also other important aspects of your life, yabona. So that's how you can tell ukuthi sibona ngama thoughts, feelings and actions, but also we see ukuthi kuba khona also problems in other important areas of your life because of the mental health condition.
I guess it is important to take care of your mental health as it is important to take care of your physical health. So you can say that this is something that we have to be taught, you know, because I think most of us we don't think it is that's important until it affects our life, you know. So what can you say to emphasize the importance of taking care of our minds, you know, and for our well-being?
Okay, yeah, so that's really great because mental health, we're not only talking about the absence of mental illness, right? We're talking about your ability to cope with stress, you know. So for example, there's a lot of awudinga uku-acta ngoba nakho usunesigolo sengqondo, you know. So nje generally in daily lives, you know, ensure that ukulala kwakho ku-right, you sleep well, ensure in terms of your eating habits that you eat a healthy diet, you know, ensure that if umuntu othanda uku-exercise, you know, that can help in terms of just dealing with day-to-day stress, and also just having people to talk to, you know, whenever you're going through something difficult. Singahlale simbondelene izinto yobo ngaphakathi, yabo.
So create a safe environment for your mind.
Exactly, yabona. Uphinde futhi engage in self-care, do something nice for yourself, something that's relaxing, yabo izinto ezikanjalo. And also just be kind to yourself, you know, be compassionate to yourself. Ungajahu ukukhuluma kahle nabanye abantu kodwa wena ungakhulumanga kahle nawe. So be kind to yourself, watch ukuthi uthini kwena, yabona i-self-talk, yabo so zonke lezo zinto. And also don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. That's part of taking care of your mental health, yabona.
Exactly.
Yabona nje ukuthi ube ne-support as umuntu, I mean as sidaleke phakathi kwabantu, you know, we exist amongst people, and we should always access that support, you know. We can always ask for help, when we're struggling with something, when we're struggling to cope, we can always ask for help. So basically, those are just some of the ways that we can take care of our mental health. And in as much as sigada kakhulu imzimba yethu, our physical health, but asinako ukuthi kahle kahle i-mental health uma ngabe inganakelekile kahle igcina affects
everything. Yeah, engine phela, engine bekulimela engine imoto ayihambi.
Yeah, so it really affects her, like yabo ezinye igulo like usuthona nama strokes nani because kade nje chronically stressed when all alone because bungazinakekeli isimo somqondo wakho. So so those are just some of the ways that you can do or practice to try to take care of your mental health.
Wow, thank you so much Thobeka for sharing that information with us, and it's a very informative. Mental health, it's a very broad topic. Yabona nje ukuthi khona singaqedanga for sure ngelinye ilanga sophinde futhi sibe nawe, so buyiza uthola umusa wakho. Abantu ke bengabe bekudinga bangakuthola kanjani?
Okay, so on social media platforms, I'm on Facebook, Thobeka Mthembu,
yes,
clinical psychologist,
yes,
and khona lapha kunama details ami, my emails on my page, and my contact number if anyone wants to come visit me at my office. So bazothola yonke address, my work address, my cell phone number, my email, and like and follow me and watch my videos.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much everyone for staying tuned.